Mercedes. A little bit of a development when it comes to Mercedes, or maybe a lack thereof for Mercedes. Announcements after the Hungarian Grand Prix. Mercedes have no more major upgrades planned, no more major developments planned for the W16, putting all their efforts into next year's W17, the 2026 regulation changes. Excuse me. Toto Wolff saying the rear axle is going to end up in the bin somewhere. So this is a rear axle. Excuse me. This is a rear axle, a rear upgrade that was brought in around Imola. It gave them a high of the Canadian Grand Prix win, but ever since then, it's been kind of a hindrance to not just the overall car, but the confidence of both the drivers. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli had a lot of early season success, high levels of performance early, and that just had not been replicated consistently with this new rear axle, with this new suspension, and the reversion back to the old spec of the rear axle has already led to George Russell landing another podium. Kimi Antonelli fighting back from P15 to P10, looked a lot more comfortable in qualifying before having his lap time deleted. Would have started P11 had that not happened at the very least. And he was still able to take that one-stop strategy, Kimi Antonelli, into a points finish. But the question is, what does this mean for 2026? Toto Wolff, as our focus turns to 2026, we won't have any more major aerodynamic upgrades to bring to the track, confirming what I was just mentioning. Mercedes have effectively turned all the energy that they have back at the factory, back in Brackley, on the 2026 regulation changes. Something that they were mostly doing before, kind of a 60-40 approach. It looks like it's basically 90-10. The final 10% is set for, continuing to create parts for the current car, replacing what you need to replace, managing what you need to manage. But it looks like pretty much every bit of their resource, as much as their time and their energy is concerned, is going towards the 2026 regulation change. Something that Mercedes reportedly feel very confident about is the engine, is the power unit. Mercedes are considered to have the best power unit going into the next regulations. And if that's indeed the case, do you want to win maybe P2 in the constructors this year? You have that fight ongoing, and if the drivers are more confident in the car, maybe your results come back to you. You have a fight with Ferrari on hand, but it's so far out ahead for McLaren. Unless some kind of catastrophic anomaly happens, McLaren are going to win the damn constructors. They're taking home the drivers' championship. It's just a matter of who. Mercedes are putting all their time, all their effort, all their energy into succeeding early during the next regulation. If we've seen what Red Bull have done, right? We've seen what Mercedes have done in the past. Getting off to a hot start, getting off on the right foot to start the regulations is almost like a slam dunk level of you can win a championship early. You can at least get that one out of the way while everybody else is trying to make up ground. Mercedes being the works team going into 2026 for themselves, right? The customer teams, McLaren, starting next year, Alpine, Williams, also a customer. You got the first crack at the information. You've got the first crack at exactly what this engine, what this power unit is going to be doing. Mercedes a bit ahead of McLaren, even though McLaren have a ton of amazing resources, fantastic engineers. Having that much more knowledge for the upcoming season is going to be nothing more than, the best possible outcome for Mercedes. So for them, putting all their time, all their effort into 2026, it just makes sense. If you feel like you can win a championship for maybe not just a year, but maybe the next couple of years, maybe even the next 3 years, is what we've seen from Red Bull, why not do it? Sacrifice the rest of this season. You got 10 races to go. You're already thinking ahead, putting them in the rearview mirror. But what about the drivers? Who the hell's driving the car? Well, I feel like we already know the answer to this question. George Russell, let's start there. The extension seems like a matter of when, not if, according to Toto Wolff. Speculation on a deal that runs through the end of the 2027 season. Russell's looking for a full-fledged commitment from the team to help put to bed being replaced by Max Verstappen, should the Dutchman become, kind of available in 2026. I believe his deal, so to speak, runs through the 2020, end of the 2027 season, Max Verstappen, or into 2028. Maybe there's some level of an option there. But obviously, Max isn't going to go anywhere for the time being. And while he's fantastic, George Russell's been phenomenal this season. He's given you no reason not to want to re-sign him. And it looks like Mercedes are on the path to doing so. It's just a matter of working out the finer details. Sounds like George wants a longer-term commitment. Mercedes, they want to keep a certain level of their options open, but George is the kind of guy. George has been the driver, at least in my opinion, that is worth investing in long-term. He's the leader of this team at the moment. He has continued to be there for Mercedes, a consistent rock, and he's performed and won races and exceeded the expectations of the car. Russell telling Last Word on Sports, I've waited so long. I want to make sure it's right. It's got to be right for the team. It's got to be right for myself. It's got to all make sense. Duration has to be right for both parties. So it's not as simple as saying, just a money situation. What if you're happy being paid, what you're being paid? Apparently the pay is not the major aspect here. It sounds like they pretty much agreed to terms on how much the pay is going to be. A lot of estimates putting it north of $30 million USD per season. Well-deserved. Race winner, leader of the team. It's just a matter of what's the timeline look like. Mercedes have been, pretty notable for, doing 1+1s or maybe 2+1s. Even Lewis Hamilton had a number of deals that, no necessary rush for the Mercedes team to necessarily figure it out. They always believed that it was going to happen, obviously, until, Lewis decided to exercise his option. But it seems like Mercedes are very happy with the driver lineup they have, with George Russell leading the way. It seems like things are going to get worked out, just a matter of time. Speculation that it might not necessarily get done over this summer break. I think that it probably will. People are going to be sitting on their hands, not doing too much. Negotiations are going to be the only thing really left on the table beyond developing for next season. So I have a feeling this is going to get done within the summer break, possibly towards the end of it. If not, we're going to probably know within the first couple of races after the summer break comes back. At least that's my speculation. Although, to be fair, I'm the same guy that said a few weeks ago, or at least maybe a month or so ago, that if they hadn't gotten a deal done by the British Grand Prix, there'd be cause for concern. We went through the highs and lows of the Max Verstappen saga. Obviously, Mercedes were interested. George Russell understands that interest. It's all business at the end of the day. These guys are human beings. They're smart people. They understand how it all works. But George Russell seems like he's going to be the guy there for at least a long time. So all the signs are pointing towards a deal getting done. Just a matter of negotiations, small tweaks around the small things, and the length of the term. As far as his teammate, who's he going to beat? Probably Kimi Antonelli. I mean, as far as Russell's Italian rookie teammate voicing a lack of concerns about his potential future, about a potential extension as well, at least as far as what I've read. While Antonelli is technically on a deal that expires at the end of this season, excuse me, Antonelli's been highly praised by Toto. He's been developed by the Mercedes family. Other team members are also a big fan of the kid. And this idea that this is just an adjustment season to get him up to speed, the pros and the cons, the rookie mistakes, you get him out of the way now while the expectations are, at least for Mercedes, relatively low. This is the development year. I think Mercedes were hopeful that they could maybe they could make some noise, get some wins, but the expectations for Kimi Antonelli, he's already exceeded a lot of those expectations, not just for myself, but it sounds like for Mercedes. I'm sure they're going to figure out some level of a very lucrative, but a nice extension, probably similar to George Russell, so they can work these things out in tandem over time. So that way they have their driver lineups rock solid, ready to go. What do you guys think is the right thing for Mercedes to do here? What does the deal look like for George Russell? Is it going to be Kimi and George for the next 5-6 years? Who knows? Will they be front runners in 2026? I want you guys to tell me. TLPs, let me know down in the comments below.